if necessary, of philosophical orthodoxy and the economic elite. That is the role of the state. There is a corollary to Foreman's iron law that they don't always operate intelligently or effectively, but they do operate with a lot of violence. It isn't unique what's happened to us. What is happening to Earth First right now is what happened to Martin Luther King in the late 60s before he was murdered. It's what happened to the Black Panthers. It's what happened to the American Indian movement. It's what has happened to a lot of social change groups in the United States. It's what happened to the Wobblies back in the Palmer raids after World War I. It's what happened to Sacco and Vanzetti. It's what happened to several 100,000 women in Europe during the Middle Ages and the Inquisition. It's what has happened to tribal people all over the world faced by Christianity and imperialism. It's what has happened to hundreds and thousands of species and natural communities faced by imperialism and capitalism and the attitude that the world is a giant smorgasbord. So what's happening to us is not unique. We have a lot of fellow travelers in the past and around the world today. It's what's happening in China. It's what's happening in Chile. It's what's happening in El Salvador. It's what's happening in Guatemala. It's what's happening in South Africa. It's how France destroyed the anti-nuclear movement there 10 or 15 years ago. And it's happening now to us.
Notes!
What the FBI was trying to do to me when they came barging in to my bedroom at 7 o'clock in the morning, pushing Nancy aside, pulling out their cocked .357 Magnums, was to scare me. They were trying to intimidate me. And they did. I am scared. I am intimidated. I'm not going to shut up. There's a real difference between talking about this and facing it. If you remember at the Rendezvous last summer, I talked about how we were going to face this. I said some of us were going to do hard time. Talked about some of us were going to die. It's easy to talk about it. It's one thing to accept it intellectually. It's another thing to have it happen.
Right on.
When you wake up looking into .357 Magnums like that, you begin to think that what's going to happen to you is what's happened to AIM or the Black Panthers. It's just going to be summary execution. When Mark and Peg had helicopters and flares and bazookas and Uzis and 50 FBI agents come down on them that night in the Arizona desert, I'm sure they thought the same thing.
And Peg got away!
There's a reality out there now. We aren't talking just about an abstraction. The power of the industrial states coming down on Earth First. They're coming down on Earth First because we've been effective. And I think we all have to recognize the reality of death. We all have to recognize the reality of imprisonment in a federal penitentiary. The charges against Peg and Mark could total 35 years. I'm lucky. My charges only total 5 years. But we're going to face that. More of us are going to face that. It's not an easy thing to face. Death isn't an easy thing to face. But there's something worse than death of yourself. There's something worse than my death. And that's the death of the planet. That's the destruction of ecosystems and of species. I've got no choice. I'm here. I'm going to be here from now on, just like I've been in the past. They can scare me. They can intimidate me. wilderness is going to give me strength to stand up, face whatever they throw at me. They can blow me away. They can always do that. They can throw me in jail. They can't blow all of us away. They can't throw us all in jail.
They can't.
We're with you, Dave.
I think we've all had a good life. We've all had wonderful wilderness experiences. We've run rivers. We've backpacked into the high country. We've encountered the grizz. We've seen the moon rise. We've seen the northern lights. We've watched the hawk on the wing. We've heard goose music. You can't ask for anything more than that. You can't ask for anything more than that when you appreciate it. You can't ask any more than a tribe of this, and the strength and the togetherness that it brings, the love that we all have for one another, the strength that we all give each other. We've got to hold that together. But we've got to face the reality of what's coming down on us. The reality of what's coming down on us destroyed the American Indian movement. It destroyed the Black Panthers. It killed Martin Luther King. It's putting people in China up against the wall right now. But when you believe in something, you've got to face that. You've got to face that ultimately lonely moment that Joan of Arc faced, or Danton faced, or those 20 or 30 some students in China are facing now. The industrial state is brutal, and it's vicious, and it's violent. It doesn't have a sense of humor. It doesn't tolerate effective opposition. They give us all kinds of opportunity to influence things, but they're never going to let us or give us the opportunity to really change things. We have to take that. And it's our courage that will let us take that opportunity. So what can I say? I'm scared. I think a lot of you should be scared.
We are.
But let's not be intimidated.
We're not.
Let's not be stupid. Let's be smart. We've got to fight, but we've got to fight intelligently. We've got to fight effectively. Like I say, everything's the same, but everything is different now. And I think we have to really do some introspection as individuals and as a group and decide how we're going to face that. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. How do we continue effective resistance for the earth, for the life of everything on this planet against the destruction of the industrial state? But how do we do it effectively? How do we do it without alienating everybody else, without creating ourselves as targets? I would hope that all of you start thinking about that too. And in facing this incredible challenge before us, how do we respond without becoming those people who are trying to destroy us? How do we avoid that great pitfall of revolutionaries, which is to become that which you revolt against? How do we fight tyranny without becoming tyrants? How do we fight hate without hating? How do we fight death without killing? How do we fight evil without becoming evil? How do we resist without becoming that which we resist? I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm asking. I hope all of you think about that too. How Earth First can deal with this new challenge. How we can react effectively. And how do we gird ourselves to face what Peg and Mark and Mark are facing now when we hear the jackboots on our front doorstep. And we look into the Uzis, see the helicopters with the spotlights above us.
Fuck 'em.
Well, it's easy to say certain things. Rhetoric's easy. But I tell you, I didn't have any rhetoric when I looked into those 357 Magnums. I didn't have any rhetoric when I had the shackles around my ankles and a chain around my waist and handcuffs on my wrist attached to the chain. Thank God Nancy had a little rhetoric to answer the FBI agent that told her that she ought to save her skin by getting rid of me and leaving me and getting out of Earth first. That's what they told her after they took me out. And that's what they're going to tell a lot of you. Hey, you've got a lot of life ahead of you. Save it. Don't lose it. Get out of this now. If you can't face the reality, then get active in the Sierra Club. Seriously, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe in being martyrs. I don't believe in the tragic hero. I don't want to be a martyr. But by God, if it's a ghost dance that I'm dancing, then I'm going to dance it. And I'll shut up when I'm laying in the desert with Ed Abbey.
Hear, hear!
A couple of things we have to realize right now from looking how the FBI destroyed the Panthers and AIM is that they operate by agent provocateurs, they operate by sowing mistrust, they operate by sowing fear. Well, we shouldn't be as trusting as we once were. But let's not mistrust either. Let's not let this destroy us. Because in one sense, this whole thing is designed to create dissatisfaction in Earth First, to create mistrust, to encourage factionalism, to encourage people fighting one another. There might be honest factions in Earth First. We might need to go our separate ways in some ways. But if we do it, let's do it with best wishes and without hate and as friends. Watch what you say. But don't treat everybody like an agent. Don't let them destroy you. When something weird happens, always ask, did the FBI do this? Did an agent provocateur do this?
Yeah.
Is this being done just to tear us apart?
Bullshit.
But let's think. Let's resist, but let's be smart about resisting. There's nothing glorious about sacrifice. There's nothing glorious about throwing yourself in as a martyr.
We don't need martyrs. We need warriors.
That's right, but warriors sometimes become martyrs. And warriors can act foolishly. We need to be smart warriors. We need to learn from what the FBI has done before. We need to learn from what the industrial state has been done before. And we need to respond intelligently, effectively, and intransigently. We need to operate with courage. We all need to go into the wilderness. We need to do what Peg said. Watch the moon rise. Look at the stars. Listen to the trees. Lay in the river. Draw strength from that. And carry on the fight. And if we die in the fight, so be it. We die better than we could have any other way. There's nothing else to do.
That's right.